Democrats in Arizona are done with Kyrsten Sinema, as she, of course, has been a obstructing force in the Democratic Party, preventing a lot from getting done. And now a majority in Arizona are coming out in support of primarying her, which unfortunately cannot be done for another 3 years, as she is not up for re-election till then. But that said, let's go through some of these numbers. And also, I'll get to in a minute here, maybe surprising to some of you, the policies that people in Arizona support. So first up here, Sinema receives weak approval relative to Democratic colleagues. So you can see here, Mark Kelly, the other Democratic senator in the state, a lot more popular than Sinema. So this is overall. Mark Kelly sits at 50% approve. Joe Biden right there with him. Kyrsten Sinema at 44% overall. But the breakdown when we get to Democrats is just crazy. So 94% of Democrats in Arizona approve right now of Joe Biden. 85% approve of Mark Kelly. Only 54% approve of Kyrsten Sinema. I mean, this is a massive gap. Now, among independents, also hurts her. So this is, the media often tries to portray the idea that these so-called moderates, they call Sinema and Manchin moderates when they are just right-wing corporate Democrats. But they try to push the idea out there that these are Sinema and Manchin, they are in the middle of the country. If that were the case, then shouldn't you see strong support from independents? But you have here Sinema sitting at 40% approval among independents. Meanwhile, Mark Kelly at 45, Joe Biden at 44. Now, it does change when we get to Republicans. Sinema support among Republicans at 36, which seems fairly high. Mark Kelly at 22 and Joe Biden at 14. Now, similar numbers here from favorable. So Sinema fails to achieve majority favorables with any party. So you see here, overall, Joe Biden, 51, Mark Kelly, 47, the governor of Arizona, 44, Sinema, 38. But again, the big numbers here among Democrats, 95% support for Joe Biden, Mark Kelly, 77% favorable, Sinema, 42% favorable among Democrats. So these kinds of numbers, and by the way, independents, Sinema, the lowest, 38% favorable among independents. Now, this is the kind of thing, these are the kind of numbers that show you that Sinema is ripe for a primary. If somebody were to challenge her to the left, or even someone who's more like Mark Kelly, who isn't on the left, but he is not obstructing the way that Sinema and Manchin are, then there's a really good chance, especially if they have name recognition in the state, that they could defeat Sinema. Now, of course, the problem is that that would be 3 years out, as she's not up for re-election for a while. But still, if this continues, if her obstructing continues, then she may be facing a serious primary challenge in the future. But more here from Mother Jones on that data. Saying here beyond the top lines, though, there are some ominous numbers for Sinema's long-term standing back home. Democratic voters overwhelmingly support a $15 an hour minimum wage, according to the survey. Sinema drew the ire of activists this spring for casting a largely symbolic vote against adding such a minimum wage hike to the coronavirus stimulus package. They support getting rid of the legislative filibuster and overwhelmingly back the PRO Act, which would expand rights and protections for labor unions, but which Sinema has not signed on to. After voters were read a script linking the filibuster to Republican obstruction, 66% of Democrats said that if given the chance in a 2024 Senate primary, they would vote for a different candidate who would get rid of the filibuster. 66% of Democrats said they would vote against Sinema in a primary. So there you go. If this were held today, now, of course, look, this is one poll, but if this kind of approach from Sinema continues, it's any primary challenger. Of course, they would need name recognition. That would be a big part of it. But they would have a really good shot if they're able to get their name out there to defeat Sinema. And on the policy issues, Arizona wants higher wages. Arizona supports the PRO Act. They support getting rid of the filibuster. So they are pro-labor rights, pro-wage hike, pro-reducing obstruction, yet Sinema on the wrong side of all of these issues. So let's hope if someone in Arizona right now who may have some standing in the state is considering a challenge against Sinema. I hope they do that. I hope they take it seriously. And you know what? Start as early as possible. Get your name out there, get known, and start running against this obstructor. Because if this continues, Biden's really not going to get much done. And, you know, to be fair, Biden also deserves a lot of the criticism as well, as he could be pushing these senators a lot more than he has, and really may just be using them as sort of a shield. Because you have people like Chris Coons, who is, you know, sort of the de facto Senate voice for Joe Biden, being from the same state of Delaware, that would likely just take the place of Sinema or Manchin if one of those weren't there. So it really is a rot within the Senate itself. It's not just those two senators, but they are the most high-profile ones. And if Joe Biden wanted to get something done like a wage hike, he could have got that done by overruling the parliamentarian in the budget reconciliation package and putting that through, but he didn't do that. So you see here, it's not just about Sinema or Manchin, but they, of course, play a role. And the more that these so-called moderates, really right-wing Democrats, are pushed out of the party, the better chance there is for the party, for Joe Biden, to get some actual work done.